There's a famous TV show called Voices in Debate where the host, James Holloway, is known for being tough on his guests. He likes to ask hard questions and make people uncomfortable. The show is popular because James often makes his guests look foolish or get upset. One night, Robert Downey Jr. was going to be on the show. Everyone was excited because Robert is famous for playing Iron Man and is known for his quick wit and comebacks. When Robert walked onto the stage, he was wearing a sharp designer suit and his signature stylish sunglasses. He had a confident smile that showed he wasn't intimidated. James Holloway thought this would be perfect. He knew about Robert's troubled past, his struggles with addiction, his time in prison, and his fall from grace in Hollywood years ago. James decided to bring up Robert's dark period, thinking he could embarrass him and make him defensive. James started by saying, "Robert, let's talk about your past. You went from being a promising young actor to someone who couldn't stay out of trouble. Drugs, arrests, prison time, you hit rock bottom pretty hard. Some people would say you're just playing a hero on screen, but in real life, you were anything but heroic." The audience felt uncomfortable. This was a low blow even for James. But Robert didn't look hurt or angry. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and smiled calmly. Robert looked at James and said, "You're absolutely right, James. I did hit rock bottom. I made terrible choices that hurt myself and the people I loved. But here's the thing. That's exactly what makes me qualified to talk about redemption." James wasn't expecting this response. He thought Robert would get defensive or make excuses. Instead, Robert was owning his mistakes. Robert continued, "You know what I learned during my worst times. That falling down isn't the end of your story. It's just the middle chapter." Then Robert asked James a question. "Have you ever failed at something important, James? Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from nothing?" James tried to brush off the question, but Robert pressed on. "Because if you haven't, then you don't understand what real strength looks like." Robert explained that his addiction wasn't something he was proud of, but it taught him valuable lessons. When you lose everything, your career, your reputation, people's trust, you learn what really matters. You learn that success isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. He talked about how his time in prison and rehab helped him understand himself better. "I had to face the person I really was, not the image I wanted people to see. That's scarier than any movie role I've ever played." The audience was listening carefully. Robert wasn't making excuses. He was showing how his worst experiences made him stronger and wiser. James tried a different approach. "But Robert, don't. You think it's unfair that you got second chances when other people with similar problems don't. You had money, connections, and Hollywood gave you another shot. What about regular people who don't get that privilege?" This was meant to make Robert look selfish and out of touch. But Robert nodded thoughtfully. "You're right, James. I was incredibly lucky. I had resources that many people don't have. That's exactly why I try to help others now." Robert explained how he uses his success to support addiction recovery programs and help people who are struggling like he once did. "My second chance came with responsibility. If I just enjoyed my success without helping others, then I would have wasted the opportunity." Then Robert turned the tables completely. He looked at James and asked, "Why are you so angry, James? Every week, you bring people on this show just to tear them down. What happened to you that made you think success means making others feel small?" The question hit James hard. The audience could see James wasn't expecting this. Robert continued, gently, "I spent years being angry too. Angry at the world, angry at myself. But anger is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to get sick. It only hurts you." James tried to say the show was just about honest conversation, but Robert smiled and said, "Honest conversation doesn't require cruelty, James. You can ask tough questions without trying to destroy people." Robert shared something deep. "You know what playing Tony Stark taught me? that being a hero isn't about being perfect. It's about taking responsibility for your mistakes and using your experience to help others. Tony Stark was flawed, just like me, but he chose to do better. He explained that his character's journey from selfish arms dealer to selfless hero mirrored his own life. Both Tony and I had to learn that our past doesn't define our future, unless we let it. The audience was moved. Robert had taken James's attacks and turned them into a lesson about growth, redemption, and second chances. By the end of the interview, James had nothing left to say. He had tried to embarrass Robert with his past, but Robert had shown how those experiences made him stronger and more compassionate. The audience gave Robert a standing ovation. James looked frustrated and defeated. His usual trick of digging up people's worst moments had backfired completely. Robert had shown that owning your mistakes is more powerful than hiding from them. The interview became famous all over the internet. People shared clips everywhere, praising Robert for his honesty and wisdom. Many people struggling with their own problems found hope in Robert's words about second chances and personal growth. Comments poured in from fans saying things like, "This is why RDJ is a real-life hero, and he turned his pain into purpose." People admired how he handled the attacks with grace and turned them into teachable moments. Later, Robert posted on social media, "We all have chapters in our story we wish we could rewrite. But those chapters often teach us the most important lessons. Don't let your worst moments define you. Let them refine you." The story shows that real strength comes from facing your mistakes honestly and using them to help others. Robert won the debate not by denying his past, but by showing how he transformed it into wisdom and compassion. He proved that heroes aren't people who never fall down. They're people who get back up and help others do the same.